Yeah, so currently it's recording everything that's on my screen and my voice, hopefully. So the background to this course, we have been running this for 3 years, and the reason why we introduced this course is because we have been offering workshops and seminars for a very long time, since 2010, Eunice. And what we found is that people come to our courses, they enjoy it. We have people who come to regularly, very, very religiously to all our courses, but they say they really struggle to then take what they have learned and implement in class. So we got the sense that there is something needed for people to engage a bit longer with us and to actually develop something and also immediately try it out in class. So this is why we are introducing all these tools, because we want you to use these tools straight away, next week, tomorrow, in class, and see what works and what doesn't. So there's something about being pushed to use the tools that you hear about in these workshops that helps with the adoption and the transfer. So this is why we decided we want to design something, short course, 5 weeks, intense, working with all of us, so you also get to know us, and we establish a relationship to further work together in the future. So that was the reason for this course. So the whole idea is, to have people who have done something. So most of you maybe have done a Blackboard course, have done some training. You're not complete beginners, but you just need a little bit of push to actually help you implement what you're doing in class. This is the main target group for this course. There are some people who have done more and have worked with us before, and they might just use this to work more intensively with us on their courses. So we'll have different personas, as you will hear in this course. So there are some who are more beginners. You said you really want to move away from talk and chalk. So I assume you haven't used a lot of technology. So we'll work with you differently than we work with somebody like Thomas, who has already done quite a bit of work and has a very specific project that they want to work on. But hopefully there's space for all of you. So we are designing for the perfect blend. And again, Faik is going to take you through what we consider blended learning. But for us, there's no formula. There's no one size fits all. There's no one module that we say each and every lecturer should do this. For us, it's more understanding who your students are, who you are, what your context is, and to decide what could be the best blend for your field, for your topic, for your students, for the kind of technologies that they have access to, for the kind of context that you teach in. What are your needs? And this is why we start with a persona, because each student is different, or your student cohorts that you work with are different. It's very different if you work with a mature education student who has to do a diploma now in early childhood education. They've been out of school for 15 years. They've worked as carers for young children for maybe 10, 15 years. So they have a lot of expertise in how to deal and care for little kids, but they don't know how to study. They haven't used technology ever in their life. They don't know what Blackboard is. That's a very different target group from, say, our real estate students who learn online. They have registered in a distance education course. Those are all mature. Those are people who work in the real estate business. They have access to phones. They have access to laptops. They need flexibility. That's all they care about. They don't care how much data they have to use. I mean, maybe that's a bit exaggerated, but they are happy to use their own data because they need that kind of flexibility to be able to work and study at the same time. So those target groups are completely different, and you have to design different kind of blended learning models for these different target groups. That's why we start always with a persona activity, to try and understand the students that we work with and design something that suits them. So as I said, the target group for this course, when we first designed it, were people who have done some training but need a little bit more support to implement. So it's not the e-learning champions, but it's also not the complete beginners, because we say at least you should have done some Blackboard. You should know a little bit about technology. So the aims of objectives is to kind of engage with the current issues and trends in blended learning. Where are we? Why are we so concerned with blended learning at the moment? What does the global world think of blended learning? And then work through design activities. So we work through a design process, and Eunice is going to talk a little bit more about that later. So there's a very specific model that we follow in starting to think about who our students are, what we could design for them, and to be also quite creative in what we're doing. So not to follow this formulaic model. And as we are doing this, we are going to introduce a lot of tools and technologies. And you might find it a bit too much, but for us, it's more about sharing as much as we can, and you'll pick what you feel comfortable with or what's suitable for your context. And what we also found really useful is to connect you with mentors, with people who have done a little bit more. That is why we really want you to come in design teams or to work as teams, to find people here in the room you can work with, because it's that interdisciplinary collaboration that's really, really useful, we found. And also we're inviting mentors, so people who have done the course before, people who have been using technology for a bit longer, and they'll bring their own experiences of using technology in our context. So it's very real and authentic, and their inputs often are very, very useful from the feedback that we got. And as we said, for us, this is very much an experimental space. So we push you to try things out in class, even if you might fail, to take that risk and try things out. Because one of the things that we are trying to move away from in this space is to not go for perfection. Because especially if you work with technology, you'll always find challenges. There's always something that might not work. That's just the nature of the business that we work with. This morning, we were lucky the Wi-Fi is on, but it could have been that the Wi-Fi would be off. Yesterday, I was sitting in this same space and I could not log on. So in my mind, I always need a plan B, a plan C. That's just the way it has to work. But it doesn't mean I'm not doing it at all. I'm willing to take the risk because I think if it works really well. But we need to be aware that this is something that might fail. And it can be very frustrating. But that's just the nature of the game, and we have to push through that frustration and find other ways of working, of reaching whatever objective we want to reach. So part of this is also to develop skills and to engage with content, but really to change our mindsets about how we work in general and how we think in general about teaching and learning. And this is a project we were engaged with. And this is actually how this whole design thinking idea came from, because we interviewed e-learning champions at this university a while ago, maybe 3-4 years ago. And in those interviews, there were certain common shared characteristics or personality traits that came up in all these interviews. And these were people from different faculties, disciplines, maturity, context, but they all had shared characteristics. And one was that they were not afraid of problems. They were looking for problems to solve them. Yeah, they wouldn't say, there's no Wi-Fi at this institution, I don't even want to go there. They would say, there's no Wi-Fi, so what else could I do? So they had that kind of mindset. And they were very much around, let me just try this out. And if it works, fine. If it doesn't work, I move on. Yeah, so this idea of exploration and play, a playfulness, something that it's fun. It should be fun. It should not be work. What we're doing here should actually be fun. And they are very much around collaboration and also sharing. A lot of these people often present at our workshops, seminars. They come and give talks. So it's all about whatever we have learned, as little as it is, we want to share it. So that's also part of the characteristics. At the core was the learner empathy. So all these e-learning champions were driven by a deep, deep empathy for the learners. All they were doing, at the end of the day, they were doing it for their learners, to make life a little bit easier for their learners. And they gave a lot of space to reflect on what they were doing. They were also often involved in research projects, writing up what they were doing. And there was resilience in there. Through the reflection, there was something like, I don't mind. If I fail 3 times, I'm going to push forward. Because at the end of the day, I still believe that this is the way to go. So they were not easily deterred. And they saw themselves as change agents. So they really thought that what we are doing is changing the institution in little steps, but it's changing. So from that, we then came, another colleague of ours said, but look, if I look at these characteristics, they sound like what people call a design thinking mindset. So there's something else, a body of literature that kind of looks at these kind of characteristics and says, this is a design thinker. This is what a design thinker does. So that's what took us then to this idea, maybe we should introduce some elements of design thinking in our staff development activities. And it has worked quite well so far. So on top of learning about content and skills, there's something around the design thinking mindset that would like to encourage in this space. So this is your space to explore and experiment and fail and take risks, but get support. It is a space where you can ask for support. But we want you to step out of that comfort zone and try things out. Welcome to those who have come a little bit late. We are recording all of this, so you can listen to it later, but you haven't missed a lot. We did introductions, but you can do that later as well in one of the breaks. We can show you, we are using an app called Flipgrid. You can do a quick introduction, we can put it up. So you haven't missed terribly much. Okay. So that's the design thinking mindset. And then there's a course structure and a timetable. So we have 4 workshops over the course of 5 weeks. And in between, there will be activities for you to engage with and trying things out in class. That's really the most important thing. That some of the tools that you'd like to try out, you should. We highly recommend to whatever you hear from us to not wait, but to try and implement as much as you can in your teaching right now. So today we are setting the scene, we're introducing ourselves, introducing this idea of a blended learning, what blended learning means, what blended learning design means. And then we're doing the first design activity, the persona. And then next week, so our focus today is on content creation. Yeah, we have created a Flipgrid video already. I am currently creating a screencast of my presentation. And you're going to create more content, and you'll see how to do that as we go along. And then next week, the next workshop on the 21st of May will be around blended activities. So will be things like collaboration, communication, class interaction, and we'll continue designing your intervention by looking at the design challenges and how we could address some of the design challenges that you have surfaced. And we'll develop a course brief. And then workshop 3 will be around online assessment. So we'll have done content, activities, assessment. Those are like the 3 big areas in blended learning. And then we'll move on to storyboarding on your course. And yeah, that is the 4th of, oh yeah, sorry. See, and because this is a live document, I can change it online. Can you see that? This is why I like working on Google Documents. If it was a Word document I had uploaded to Blackboard, I would now have to download it, change it, upload it. Because it's live, I can change it as we go. Thank you. Is it? I hope it's the right. Are these the right dates? Yeah? Okay, cool. 15th. So this might not be, is this the right? Let me just check on my calendar. So today is the 7th. Then we meet again on the 21st. Yes. Then we meet again on the 4th of June. Yes. And then the last one is, yeah, after the school close. We only close, I think, on the 21st. So our last one is on the 18th. So workshop 3 is on online assessment and storyboarding, your course. And then workshop 4 is presentations, what you have done. And we'll talk about how you present. It will be also interesting and different, but it will about sharing what you have done over the course and your experiences so far. And some of you might only implement your course next semester, but it's about what you have done so far in terms of your course interventions. So these are the kind of design activities we'll go through, and we'll introduce them as we go, but you'll start with a persona, and then you go around brainstorming solution around challenges. Design thinking is also very much about not focusing immediately on one solution, but brainstorming as many as you can. So this idea of diverging, converging, diverging, converging. So you go into a space where you're very creative and you kind of brainstorm as many solutions, and then you decide, I'm going to try one. and I see how it goes. And then I brainstorm again. Did it go well? Do I need to look for something else? And then you try something new. So it's an iterative process of going wide and going narrow, going wide, going narrow. So then the design brief, the storyboarding, and some of you have done these activities before. So if you feel you've done it and you don't want to do it again, you can just continue working on wherever you are in your design process. We'll show you a tool called the Learning Designer, which is a really nice tool to help you putting your your storyboard online. And then at the end, we'll ask you to develop a digital poster and the different platforms that you can use templates from. But we're going to push you a little bit to do things differently. So I hope you're okay with that. There's a lot of support. And the assessment, if you work in these workshops, if you come to the workshops and you do all your design activities, that's basically what you have to do for this course. So you've got the participation, the face-to-face workshop, that's 20%. You've got small weekly tasks, which will be mainly doing the things that we talk about in the workshops in your practice. And then you'll have some sort of poster presentation at the end and the Learning Designer that we are going to introduce. So it's really, if you worked throughout these 5 weeks, there's not much more work that you have to do. It's really about what we demonstrate here, to take it and to practice it in your own classes. The course team, you have met all of us. Donna, Sonwabo, Linda, Eunice are sitting here in Bavo. Faik and myself are on the District 6 campus. So whoever is closer to you, please make sure you have their contact details and you know where they sit. And email us, contact us if you need help. Don't wait. We are here and we are ready to help anytime. And then we've added a lot of resources. So this is really, if you're interested in this, there's a lot of good starting materials. There are the institutional guidelines on online learning and teaching and online assessment. There's a CPUT teaching and learning strategy and the e-learning policy that might be useful. And there's a new one, the CPUT assessment, the new CPUT assessment policy. The e-learning policy is currently under review, but is still valid. I've given you links to online journals if you're interested in this field. Hybrid Pedagogy is one of the best journals, I think, most innovative, creative journals on the use of innovative technology in teaching and learning. There's the International Review of Research in Open and Distributed Learning. There's the Electronic Journal of E-Learning. Those are all online journals, very easily accessible. I think a lot of what happens, or a lot of the interesting thinking and discussions happen on social media around the use of technology in teaching and learning. These are all people that you can follow on Twitter, for example. If you're on Twitter, these are people who are like the big names in educational technology. And if you're following anybody else, please just add those names. This is just a first list of people that we follow and we think are really useful. There's also a lot of blogs that you can look at. I love the Cult of Pedagogy. I think that's one of the best blogs around the use of, in general, just around pedagogy, and very, very useful for anybody who's teaching. She also has a fantastic podcast series, so I listen to it in my car. I just download the podcast and listen to them. And then if you're on Facebook, there are some really nice groups you can join and discuss their articles and reports. That the New Horizon Report 2019 has just come out. The link is there. There's an article around blended learning and the different definitions. There are free books that you can access. So there's a lot of resources if you're interested in this. And there's also a little bit around design thinking in higher education. Are there any questions so far on the course outline or program? Say again? Oh, check in. Okay. Let me just close my recording.